Ready to see a bunch of controllers? Nope. Well, too bad. You're going to see some anyway.
Let's get it. Yeah.
Greetings, comrades. This is I'm Caleb, back with a video I've been wanting to do for a while, and I'm going to be showing off my controller collection as of October 13th, 2024. And if you saw the thumbnail of the video, you know I have a shit ton of controllers, and that collection's slowly growing, but I wanted to, I gotta show off what I have right now, and, just something I wanted to do for a while, because I have so many controllers, I might as well show them off. I'm not really doing controller reviews anymore, but I at least want to show off what I do have, and just give you a quick guide sense of what I think about them. So, let's get started, because it's going to be a long video, so we might as well get the vanilla controllers out of the way, and it's going to be, I'm pretty going to break it out into a few sections. The vanilla controllers, then I'll go with the Xbox controllers, the Switch controllers, and here's the controllers I use for PC, and I guess we'll lump the Joycons with the Switch controllers, so yeah. Let's get started. And naturally we're going to start with the vanilla controllers. Now to start off, of course, we had to go with my personal favorite controller, the original Xbox Series controllers. I have two of them. One came with my Xbox Series X. The other one I bought standalone original for my PC, and now I use it for the Steam Deck. And there's not much to say about the Xbox Series controller we already know about. Very versatile, very comfortable in the hands, nice little D-pad, share buttons with a nice little touch. It pretty much improves on the Xbox One controller in several ways, while still keeping the familiar shape we're all familiar with. Like I said familiar twice in that sentence. But yeah, I got the two black ones. I also have a blue one. Now I try to get blue because blue's my favorite color. Now, this is, I mainly use this for the Xbox. And actually, one of these controllers I also use for the 360 with that Brook adapter that I got a while back. Works like a charm, by the way. So yeah, as far as vanilla controllers are concerned, I have the two black ones and a blue one. Not only that, but I also have, I'll put them out here, two of these special edition ones. Naturally, again, I went with blue because blue's my favorite color. And we're going to hear me say that a lot during this video. But we got the Storm Cloud Vapor controller and my recent addition, the Sky Cypher. Now, naturally, I had to get them because I will admit the Storm Cloud is pretty cool, and these Vapor controllers, say what you will about them. They release like a new version like every 3 weeks. But I do like the way this looks. Every controller is unique in the design here. And what's interesting about these controllers, it's largely the same as the standard Xbox controllers. You have this rubberized grip on the back that feels pretty good. I sometimes forget it's there, but it does feel fairly comfortable. Granted, the original Xbox controller is already comfortable, so not much you can improve on that. And my recent addition to Sky Cypher, I will admit, this is probably my favorite Xbox controller design. It looks so cool, that translucent blue shell in the back, pretty much the same. You have the metallic D-pad, the metallic triggers. But other than that, it's just traditional Xbox controller, just in a cool little translucent shell. And I had to get it because I love blue. It looks so cool. And these I mainly use for the PC. Now, that's it for the vanilla Xbox controllers. Now, let's show off the Switch Pro controller. Now, as GamerHeaven would tell you, there's nothing pro about this controller. It doesn't have back panel. It doesn't have back buttons or Holotech joysticks or anything like that. It's just your standard game controller. But it is a really solid controller at that, even though it's not cheap. It's pretty much the same price as the DualSense controller, which we'll get to in a minute. But I personally think it's a really solid controller. Feels good in the hands, especially with these rubber grips here. You know, joysticks feel good. Buttons are nice and tactile. Some people don't like the D-pad. I'm not sure why. It's responsive for me. It feels good. And naturally, digital triggers. As we all know, Nintendo seems to be against analog triggers in their controllers for whatever reason. So other controller manufacturers had to step in. And even then, analog triggers won't work on Nintendo games. So yeah. But solid controller, but it's like $70. That's why there's so many third-party controllers out there. The official offering is kind of pricey, and yeah, it does have your mainstay features, the HD rumble, the NFC for amiibos, and stuff like that. So, you know, give credit where credit's due. It's a solid controller. Now, I forgot to show these off in the vanilla controllers video. I forgot to show off my standard Joycons. These are the ones that came with my original Switch. Get the traditional blue-red classic Switch design, if you ask me. Blue left, red right. Classic design. And I have the Joy-Cons that are the OLED, all white. Now, I don't use these that much unless I play Mario Party, because, yeah, these thumbsticks, they're not the greatest. Plus, how small these shoulder buttons and triggers are. Yeah, obviously meant for like little kids, but you know, since I have big hands, that's why I have alternatives when it comes to that. And of course, the Joy-Con straps, they're easy to slip in, a little tricky to get out. You have to hold the release button, then press the lever on the side. You want to help it slide out, because if you're not careful, you might break them. So definitely be careful with that. And yeah, those are my vanilla Joy-Cons. And now, the controller I don't use that much, but it's still a nice controller to have. The DualSense. Yeah, I don't have a PlayStation 5, nor do I ever plan on getting one, because Sony. But I will admit the DualSense controller is a really solid controller for what it's worth. Again, $70, not cheap, but it feels nice. Normally, this is coming from somebody who uses Xbox a lot. I'm used to the asymmetrical layout for thumbsticks, with the thumbstick up here, the D-pad down here. PlayStation, you know, pretty much stuck to their laurels and just stuck with the symmetrical thumbsticks, and they had since the PlayStation 1. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They did add a few new things to this controller, naturally. The PlayStation 4 DualShock 4 controller, which we'll get to that in a minute, has a touchpad, which I don't know too many games that utilize it, at least not on PC, but it's a nice little thing to have. You can go to menus and stuff like that. And you have the mic button here, which this has a built-in microphone and a built-in speaker, so you can hear like in-game audio and stuff. But what really set the DualSense apart, the other controllers, is the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers. Basically, you're playing certain Sony games, the rumble will actually intensify at certain points and give you a little more immersion with your game. Like you're playing like God of War or Horizon Zero Dawn or anything like that, and you're using the controller. It makes it a more immersive experience. And the adaptive triggers, really nice too. Like say you have a bow and arrow, you hold the left trigger and it increases in tension as you hold it down. Then I guess when you press the right trigger, it'll let go. Pretty cool features to have. And there's so many different revisions of this controller. I believe I have I think this is a version 3 controller. It's kind of hard to tell. Because there is a QR code in here, but the camera on my phone is shit. It can't zoom in to that, no matter how close I put it. So I can't really tell for sure what model it is. But it's a pretty solid controller nonetheless, even though I don't use it that much. What I have been using a lot more, surprisingly, is the DualShock 4. Now, I mainly got this mainly for the PC, and it works pretty well on the PC for the most part. Yeah. As well know, the DualShock controller, it's pretty much been around since the late PlayStation 3 days, and then Sony decided to go back to the drawing board and create the DualShock 4. And I will admit, this is one of the most comfortable controllers I've ever held. The wings, you know, they fit perfectly in my hands. And the triggers, really good, which up until the PlayStation 4, the L2 and R2 triggers, they weren't sloped like you would expect a trigger to be. There was still like it was on like a downward slant, so your finger would slide off here. No such problem. So it's a pretty solid controller around. I'm surprised I still sold these at Best Buy in 2024. I guess some people still play PlayStation 4 games, and hey, more power to you. I still play 360 games. So again, you got the touchpad, the built-in speaker, the PlayStation Home button. You have the DualSense Edge, and the regular DualSense, I should say. Has a built-in microphone, and a much bigger design, and of course the haptic feedback and whatnot. But really solid controller. And I also use it for like emulating PS2 games on the PC, so that's really nice to have. Now, let's break out the big boys, the higher end vanilla controllers. And might as well start with the Elite Series 2 controller that I have here. I will admit, I haven't been using it nearly as much since I got all these other controllers and whatnot, switching around and stuff, but it's still a solid controller, QC issues aside. You know, the original Series Elite controller, you know, it has its implemented features that are now standard in the curve controller, the hybrid D-pad. Well, I guess that's the only feature, but you know, these Elite controllers, you know, especially the first series, they're known for their QC issues. They seem to be improving on them, which I've had this for nearly a year and it still works like a charm. But it's a solid controller. I reviewed this a while back. You have the swappable D-pad, so you can swap out the hybrid D-pad with the regular 4-direction. You have swappable thumbsticks. You have these anti-friction rings, so you don't wear out your thumbsticks. You have the profile switch buttons, so you have the 3 different profiles on here. You have the trigger stops, which you can go halfway, or full stop, so there's hardly any travel. And then you have removable back buttons, which you can technically press them like this if you have small enough fingers. But you have the removable back paddles, so if you want to have extra inputs in the back of your controller, you can. And during the crop, it has an included charging dock, which, along with this case, there's a little compartment so you can plug in the Type-C cable in here so you can charge it in the case. So it's really nice to have. It's a little dusty because, like I said, it's been a while since I've used it, but still a solid controller. And on that vein, we have the Elite Series 2 Core controller, which is more or less the same controller, only slightly worse QC. And probably the biggest thing, you get just the controller and the tension tool for the thumbsticks. That's what I forgot to mention. You can adjust the tension of the thumbsticks in the Elite controllers. So if you want more tension or less tension, you can do that. But here, that's all you get. So if you want like a carrying case or the extra paddles or anything like that, you gotta fork up a little extra money. So yeah, you pretty much only get this if you want a different colored Elite controller. But if you're doing that, you might as well just go in the Xbox Design Lab so you can actually make the color you want and customize it the way you want. So yeah, take that for what you will. And the last of the official vanilla controllers, one of the more recent additions and pretty solid control all around, the DualSense Edge, complete with hard plastic carrying case. I will admit, I was a bit skeptical when I first got this. Like $200. This is one of the more expensive controllers I have, but it's a solid controller. It feels solid. It feels heftier than the original DualSense controller. But you hold it, you can tell you're holding a pretty solid controller. Though, you know, they might not ring true these days. I'm gonna hear a few QC issues with this as well. Not as many as the Elite controller, but they're there. But yeah, just like the Elite controller, you have this hard carrying case with a compartment so you can plug in the Type-C cable, which this has a few tricks the Elite controller doesn't have. And you have the little knobs here instead of the paddles. You do have the paddles, but you notice there's only 2. Instead of 4 back buttons, you only have 2. But you have a choice between these paddles, or I prefer these nubs, and they're not in the way, and if I need to press them, I can do it easily. They do require a little bit of force to press them so you're not accidentally pressing them on a whim. But that's nice to have. And you also have the replaceable thumbsticks here. You got the two tall ones, which aren't that tall. Gamer haven't critiqued that. Let me show this off. And you had the original dome thumbstick caps as well, which you could. It emulates the original DualShock controllers, which is really nice to have. You also have a little cable lock, so if you're using the Type-C cable in here, which I highly suggest you do, because the battery life on this thing sucks. It really does. If you know, you know. But you have this cable lock thing, so if you plug in the Type-C cable here, you use this, you're in no fear of that cable falling off while you're using it, so nice thing to have. But what's really special about this controller, this faceplate here, those are also two function buttons. You can program those to do other things too. But what's really special about this controller, you can actually take this faceplate off, provided you didn't cut your fingernail like I have. It's a small panel there, but you can pop this faceplate off and you can actually replace the thumbsticks. If you ever develop stick drift, you can just replace the modules, though good luck getting modules now, because there are scalpers getting those as well. But anyway, to take these thumbsticks out, you just pull this little lever on the side, you'll pop the stick out, you slide it out, then you get a new module, slide it in, pull the lever down, you're good to go. So it's a good way to alleviate stick drift, though maybe not the best solution, since again, the modules are kind of hard to come by. And yeah, that's it for the vanilla controllers. Now, I'm going to show off all the third-party Xbox controllers I have. Okay, so now we're on the third-party Xbox controllers, and don't have too many of them, but what I do have is pretty substantial. So we're going to start off with Hyperkin's offerings, and start with probably the best of the three Xbox controller offerings they have, the Hyperkin Zenon. That's right. A remake of the classic Xbox 360 controller, down to the mold, feel the buttons, and they actually improved on the D-pad. It's actually a functional D-pad as opposed to the original, which I actually forgot to show off in the vanilla controllers, but you know, it's an Xbox 360 controller, not much needs to be said about it. But the Zenon, yeah, they pretty much taken the 360 controller and made it usable on the newer Xbox consoles, the Xbox Ones, the Xbox Series, stuff like that. And of course, they replaced a proprietary headset connector with a 3.5mm headphone jack, so you can use any headset with this. You got the Type-C connection on the top. And you got some slightly taller and slightly wider thumbsticks, which I did test these when I originally got them. These had to be Hall effect joysticks because I have a 0.1% error rate on these. So this is some brand new potentiometer joystick technology. These are Hall effect joysticks. There's no other explanation. But really solid controller. Really nice to have. What's also nice to have, at least in my opinion, since I grew up with the original Xbox, the Duchess. That's right, one of my more recent additions in my collection. Yeah, the shoulder buttons are much better than another controller I'm about to talk about here in a minute. But yeah, it's a pretty much one-on-one replica of the Xbox Controller S for the original Xbox. The buttons feel good, joysticks are good, Hall effect joysticks by the way. Pretty good D-pad, and yeah, the implementation of the black and white buttons, which the shoulder buttons mimic those buttons, so you can use that or these. But this is a much better placement than another controller I'm about to talk about here in a minute. And yeah, this Xbox center button here, that's the guide button. So very clever use. So that big thing there, might as well put it to use, because the original controller, it's just a sticker. That's all it is. It doesn't do anything. Just let you know, hey, it's an Xbox controller, so don't try to play on your PlayStation 2 or anything. But yeah, I will agree with Gamer Heaven. It doesn't feel as solid as the original Xbox controller, but it still feels pretty good. At least in my hands, you know. Your mileage may vary, but I think this is a pretty solid controller. What isn't as solid though is the Dupe. Yep, pretty dusty because this is pretty much a display piece at this point, which I'll use it from time to time, but it's not my favorite controller. I will tell you right now. Thumbsticks are okay, even though they're not Hall effect joysticks. They're potentiometers that are not the greatest. You got the menu buttons down here, and the buttons, yeah. I'm so glad they redesigned the original Xbox controller, because if this was a controller throughout the lifespan, I probably would have skipped the Xbox entirely, because look at my thumb. I can press all 4 of these buttons at the same time. I can't say that with other controllers. Even the Super Nintendo controller, you know, I still have to reach my thumb over here. I can press all 4 of them, which to me is not a good design choice. Yeah, the D-pad, it's serviceable, not the greatest D-pad ever, but by far not the worst. That obviously goes to the Xbox 360 D-pad. And yeah, not a very comfortable controller in the long run, especially when you take into account these shoulder buttons, which are tiny and in a stupid position, which, yeah, you're gonna get strained in your fingers if you keep doing that. If they move them down here, you kind of have to press them there. It might be a little more awkward, but that's more serviceable than this. Yeah, pretty much the only reason you're buying this controller is you're really nostalgic about this controller, and if you really like the startup sequence whenever you plug in this controller. I will admit, it is a nice little feature, but that's pretty much all the controller has going for it. So yeah. Take that for what you will. Now, we're going to go into 8BitDo and be prepared. There will be a few more 8BitDo controllers coming up. And might as well start with the 3-mode controller for the 360. We'll admit, wasn't using this controller as much as I thought I would, but that's mainly because I haven't played the Xbox that much. But this is a really solid controller. No, I've used, just a spoiler alert, I was showing off the other Ultimate Controller later on, which I was a huge fan of that controller, and this is still a solid controller to have, though the mode switching is a little sketchy, at least for me, because if you want to use it on the Xbox, you have to use it wired, and if you want to use it wirelessly, you have to use a dongle, but it won't work on the Xbox. It's like pretty much for the PC, or the 2.4 gigahertz connection for the PC. But other than that, it's still a solid controller. You got your regular things, the Hall effect joysticks, awesome D-pad, nice little analog triggers. It's a very solid controller. Plus, it comes with a charging dock with the dongle, so it's a nice controller. And now we're going to get to the oh boy, the more expensive offerings. We're going to, well, pretty much 2. I tend to have 3 of these, but the other one's in the living room. I'm not going to bother getting it because I'll be honest, I'm not too fond of that one. And yeah, these are from Hex Gaming. That's right, the Ultra X controllers. And the other one I have is the Advance, which, at least mine, it wasn't great. Especially with the thumbsticks. The left thumbstick kind of got stuck. There's a bit of creaking on that thumbstick, so I pretty much set it on the wayside, so that's pretty much $200 wasted. This was not $200 wasted. This is actually a pre-built. Really like the design of it, and feel good. The thumbsticks feel great, and I'll show up the other Ultra X, which is my other custom controller, but it still looks really good. But yeah, you have the swappable thumbsticks. Actually, comes in this little case here. It also comes with like little rings you put around the thumbsticks themselves to increase the tension. So if you're like using it for like sniping or something, you can use that. And it also comes with rubber rings to help for any wear and tear on the thumbstick itself. So those are nice little things to have. But of course, we got the back buttons here, as well as 6 programmable profiles. You can do it on the controller. There's no app used here. It's pretty much done on the controller. You maybe just hold this button, set the back buttons to whatever you want, and you're good to go. But I mainly got this because of the designs. they have here. They're so cool. I especially like this one, but this one, my own custom controller here, still looks really solid. I like the grip of it, and the back buttons for me, pretty easy to get to. And it also comes with a charging cable, which I have stashed away somewhere because I just use battery packs. And yeah, those are it for my Xbox controllers, I believe. Forgot to show this off on the third-party Xbox controllers, which I didn't like this as much as I thought I would, but for what it's worth, you know, it could have been better, but if you can find it cheap, I suggest you do. But this is the Vitrix Pro BFG. PS version was released a while back, and I got this around the time of my birthday, which, it's an okay present, I guess you could say. It feels really solid. You have a lot of features in this controller. You have the swappable modules, so if you want to do that symmetrical thumbstick layout, you can. And you can swap out the right module for a fight pad with nice clicky face buttons there. You have swappable thumbstick gates, so if you want 8 directionals, you can. You have a 3.5mm wireless dongle. You also have 2 different swappable D-pads along with the Vitrix dish here. You have 2 different thumbsticks. You have a regular dome and a tall sniper thumbstick. You have a tool which you use to loosen these screws to swap the modules around, as well as a pretty lengthy cable with this permanently fixed Velcro strap in the case. And you have so many other features in this controller. You have the programmable back buttons, you have the trigger stops, which have 5 different levels, you have programmable profiles, and they recently came out with Hall Effect joystick modules for these controllers, which is really cool to have. But pretty much my main gripe with these controllers is that these triggers here, way too sensitive. You know, on full travel you just barely touch them and they actuate, which I was not a fan of that. One of the things that keeps me from using this controller more often than I thought I would. If these triggers were not so sensitive, I would definitely recommend this controller, but at $180, you're better off getting a Elite controller, or even if you splurge a little more, get a Hex Gaming Controller, or those other third-party controllers that are like sub $200. But yeah, Vitrix Pro BFG, everybody. As I was putting controllers away, I forgot there was one other third-party Xbox controller that I forgot to show off, and I actually forgot about it because I left it in my Steam Deck carrying bag, and it is the PowerA Moga XP Ultra, which, at first I wasn't that big of a fan of this controller, but now that I started using Xbox a bit more, and now I have the Xbox Cloud Gaming, this controller actually has some merit to it. For those that don't know, this is a sort of a portable Xbox controller. It has all your mainstays, you got your regular D-pad and stuff, really clicky bumpers, and solid triggers, and back buttons in this shell, because this can actually detach and become a more portable controller. Granted, it's not going to be comfortable in the long run, but it's a nice little option. And if you're using your phone for cloud gaming, you have this whole phone clamp. Basically plug it to the top here. There's a little tab that slots in, so it'll go through. And then we didn't put it in all the way. And you can mount your phone on here, and then you can play your Xbox Cloud games like this. We'll admit, nice little thing to have. Now you use cloud gaming a little bit more through the phone. This controller actually has some merit to it. Alright, now for probably the longest section here, the Switch controllers. Now to show off the Switch Pro controller, and I have quite a few of these, and I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of them are pretty solid choices, and especially the cheaper ones. Like if you feel the $70 price tag is too high for the official Switch Pro controller, I got quite a few alternatives here. Some are a little pricier than others, but you know, we'll get to that. We might as well start with pretty much a controller that jump-started my controller binge for the Switch, and that is the APO Ultimate Bluetooth controller. Now, I've had this for over a year, and it's still a solid controller. like I mentioned, it fits perfectly in my hands. And as I said, with the 3-mode controller for the Xbox, everything feels good. The buttons, triggers, thumbsticks, the D-pad especially, and the back buttons. Which I forgot to mention, the 3-mode controller has programmable back buttons. You had to do it through the 8BitDo app through Xbox, whereas here you can do it on the PC. Yeah, just like I said with the 3-mode controller, it comes with a charging dock with the wireless dongle built in. And you have a Type-C port back here, so you can actually, this actually pulls double duty. It's a charging dock and a wireless receiver. So if you want to leave the wireless receiver in there and just use it there, you can. Just gotta make sure it's plugged in. And let me get my other Ultimate controllers real quick. Alright, here are my most prized 8BitDo controllers. These are the 2 limited edition 10th anniversary controllers. Now, a year ago, 8BitDo released a few anniversary edition controllers, so the 8BitDo Ultimate Controller. 2 of them are based on the Famicom design, and we have these 2 with unique designs celebrating the 10th anniversary. And unfortunately, these are no longer available. But if you're lucky enough to get one of these controllers, you know, they're really, really good controllers to have. Even though I don't use them that much because this plastic here, it's glossy, so it attracts fingerprints and it's prone to scratches. So I use them every now and then, but not lately. But I mainly got them because of the designs. You have this 10th anniversary design here, plus this little retro design, which I thought was really cool. So I got both of them. They come in these nice little carrying cases too. Nice leather cases. Feel really good. Yeah, definitely my more prized controllers here. But when it comes to more functional controllers, well, I have quite a few of those as well. And I might as well show off another 8BitDo controller. Well, actually, 3, even though they're the same controller, as the one of my cables knocks over one of the controllers. The 8BitDo SM30 Pro. Yes, I have 3 of these. I have a wired one, which I'm going to use for the Raspberry Pi. I also have the original one. A little bit of trivia. This is the first 8BitDo controller I ever bought. And I originally got this for the Raspberry Pi. And unfortunately, they don't have this design anymore with this sort of Super NES style coloring. Even though 2 of the buttons should have been a darker purple. But 2 of them are concave. The Y and X buttons are concave, so that's nice. But it's a really solid retro style controller, and includes your traditional controller mainstays these days, the dual thumbsticks, which are symmetrical. You got the extra shoulder buttons down here, which don't get in the way of the original aesthetic, surprisingly enough. But it also has a turbo function, screenshot button, so you can use this on the Switch if you so desire. This is the regular one. This is one of my more recent pickups. This is one with Hall effect joysticks, which, yes, earlier this year, 8BitDo released some new versions of some of the thumbstick controllers, like the SM30 Pro, the Pro2, and a few other controllers with Hall effect joysticks. So if you have the option, if you want to get one of these, definitely go for one with Hall effect joysticks. So $10 more, but you're never going to get stick drift. So that's a really nice thing to have. This controller here is not so nice to have. Now, I will say, I do love 8BitDo products. They make some solid products, but unfortunately, this isn't one of them. This is the N30. Now, granted, this is an older controller, because I have a little connection nub here. It's an older controller because it uses micro USB. As you can see here, micro USB, so it's an older controller. So I have this little magnetic connector here, so I can use one of my retractable Type-C cables. Also comes with a weird back plate, which honestly serves no purpose. Just makes it look uglier. But I may want an NES style controller for playing the Switch, but the thing is, this will not connect to my Switch. I tried everything. I followed the instructions to the letter, updated the firmware and stuff like that, but for whatever reason, it will not connect to any of my Switches. I tried. So this is pretty much a NES controller shaped paperweight. So, to be fair, this is one of their older controllers. They've obviously improved a lot since then, though. If you're looking for a solid NES style controller for like playing NES games on the Switch or whatever, steer clear of this one. Like, I'm not a fan of it. This next controller, a little bit better. You know, I haven't used it that much. The M30, which, contrary to design, it's not based on the Genesis controller. It's actually based on the Sega Saturn controller, and they actually have a version that's colored like the Sega Saturn controller. This is mainly colored for the Genesis controller, as you can tell. Got the 8-directional D-pad, the 6 face buttons here, and all your usual stuff. Get the minus button here, and the start button doubles as a plus button. So, I mainly got this, so I'm playing like a Sega Genesis collection on the Switch, and it's a pretty solid controller for that. And it's a pretty popular fight pad too, because of the 8-directional D-pad and the 6 face buttons, so you can easily play fighting games with this. In fact, they really have a version of this for the Xbox, so that's pretty cool to have. So yeah. And if you want a really solid 8-bit controller, might I recommend the Pro2. I have 2 of these. This is my original one with regular joysticks, and this is my transparent blue one with Hall Effect joysticks. And if you thought the SM30 Pro was a solid controller, this one's even more so. This is, I dare say, if Sony and Nintendo actually got together to make a CD-based add-on for the Super Nintendo, which, you know, don't know that story, look it up. This part would have been a controller would have used, the dual thumbsticks and stuff like that. This also has programmable back buttons. And one thing I really like, well, 2 things I like about the Pro2 controller. This has a battery compartment it includes a rechargeable battery pack, but you can use AA batteries if you so desire. But one thing I really like, which I wish the Ultimate controllers had, was this mode switch button here, so you can switch between the 4 different connection modes: Switch, Android, D input, and X input. So if I want to use it on PC, I can just flip it on there. You know, connect it no problem. If I want to do it on the Switch, flip it back there, and it works fine. Really solid controller, especially, again, if you go for the Hall Effect route. You're not going to develop stick drift or anything like that, and it looks so much cool with this transparent blue shell. When I saw them making a transparent blue Pro 2, I had to get one. I love be blue. Blues clues. Okay. What's next? Let's see. Well, I'll get the other third-party controllers out of the way. This is the MobaPad Chitu. Heralded by many a YouTube reviewer as one of the best Pro controllers you can get for the Switch, and I humbly agree. These Hall Effect sticks, not as accurate as others, but no stick drift, that's good enough for me. You have the 4-directional D-pad here. It also comes with the hybrid D-pad, which I actually prefer the 4-direction here because I have big thumbs. How big that hybrid D-pad is. Sometimes I press like down outside and go right and stuff like that, so I use this, no such issue. But it's also got micro switches and the face buttons, the triggers. Got the programmable back buttons here. That's actually to turn the controller on. And use all these other controllers. You have a turbo function, you have a macro button, so you can program different macros to the back buttons. Stuff like that. Really, really solid control. If I remember correctly, this has NFC, so you can use amiibos on it, because a lot of third-party Switch controllers don't have NFC, so that's something to keep in mind when you buy this stuff. But really, really solid controller. Also a solid controller, the Mexico NS32. Yes, it's almost a one-on-one recreation of the Switch controller, only with Hall Effect joysticks. You also have some RGB lighting around the thumbstick rings, which I have mine set to blue because, again, favorite color is blue. But it's more solid plastic. There's a little gripping on the back here. You have a turbo button back here, so you can program toward any of these buttons and whatnot. pretty good D-pad, and of course those Hall effect joysticks, the most accurate ones out there. So if you're looking for a good alternative to Switch Pro controller, I definitely recommend this one, and the mobile pad. And another solid choice is the GIGABYTE Zen Pro 2. Or Zen Pro, as it says on here. But yeah, if you like the Xbox layout, you'll love this controller. Just like the others, it has Hall effect joysticks. It also has metallic thumbsticks, so it's not going to scratch anything, so that's nice. Pretty good D-pad. Just like the other controllers, you have turbo, programmable macros, and stuff like that. Really nice feeling buttons. Got the digital triggers. They don't take that much force to bottom out. They're not analog. No programmable back buttons, but it's fine. And you also have again, other profile switches, so you can switch between, you know, D input, Android, or iOS, Windows, and Switch. So, pretty solid controller. What's even more solid, at least in my opinion, is the GKK3 Max, also from GIGABYTE. It has this nice little protective shell, and it's more or less the same as the Zen Pro, only with a lot of improvements. For instance, you have swappable face buttons, though I do not. I can turn on this controller too. Though I do not recommend swapping out these buttons that much, because well, this little tool here, if you're not careful, you're gonna end up scratching some of the face buttons. I actually have scratched it a few times over here, so I say pick a layout and stick with it. I got the Xbox layout here, works just fine. But this has even more functionality than the Zen Pro. For instance, you have a separate USB dongle, so you can use it wirelessly through that. You also have back buttons akin to the Xbox Elite controller. Though, I'm being honest, I'm not as fond of these as a Elite controller, because these little bases here are plastic. So they're gonna get getting scratched up over time, and technically you don't even need the paddles, because you can press them like that. Like, I don't even have the paddles on, and I can press them. Let me turn off the controller real quick. I didn't mean to turn it on. Maybe I had to. Oh, it's connected to Windows. You get to hold it down. There we go. But yeah, you also have trigger stops here. You only have two options: full travel or no travel. Nice clicky too. Really like the feel of these triggers here. Got a nice little gripping on the side here, so that's nice. And yeah, it also comes with the 4 back paddles, as well as 2 nubs, like the DualSense Edge, as well as a different set of face buttons, so you can switch between the Switch layout or the Xbox layout. I'm personally gonna leave it on the Xbox layout, because, like I said, that little tool, it'll scratch those face buttons if you're not careful. Okay, now for the cheaper offerings that I have. This is a short while back, the PXN P50. Now, you go on Amazon, you'll find the PXN P50L, which, as far as I can tell, there's no difference between those two. But it's not a mind-blowing controller by any stretch of the imagination. But for $20, sub $20, it's a solid controller. It feels pretty good, despite the price point. The buttons are nice and responsive. The triggers are pretty big, but they get the job done. You got the back buttons, and if you download the PXN Play app on your phone, you have even more customization. You can adjust the dead zones, you can set up macros and stuff like that. But even without the app, it's a solid controller for the price. It's also a solid controller from the same company, the PXN 9607X, which funny thing, I remember seeing a video a while back from another YouTuber GameStop released their own like wireless controller for the Switch. This uses the exact same shell. And it's a little bigger, so it fits a little better in my hands, but it still feels pretty cheap. Obviously, it's a cheap controller. It's around the same price as the P50, but the triggers don't feel as good. They don't squeak, but they feel kind of rough compared to the P50. And no programmable back buttons. We do have a power button back here, so that's pretty nice. It feels pretty good, but it to me looks more like a toy than a proper gaming controller. But you know, $20. What are you gonna do? Okay, now for the. Well, I realized I forgot a controller on the Xbox segment. I'll probably plug that in later on. But now for the Joy-Con replacements, and might as well get these out of the way. This is the HySwitch Pad Pro, and I will admit since I have fairly big hands, it's a fairly comfortable controller. You got good size thumbsticks and a good proper D-pad, and the buttons and stuff. And it comes with this little controller segment, so you can. These are meant to be like sort of Joy-Con replacements, but not quite. You'll notice inside here there's no buttons here, so you can't use these wirelessly. They had to be connected to the Switch directly or to this little controller hub. That's the only way we'll be able to use these. And the controller mode is pretty wide, at least what I'm used to. It does have a 3.5mm headphone jack and some volume controls, so you can use headsets if you can. And you also have turbo functions and has programmable back buttons. But the thing is, and this is pretty much with every third-party Joy-Con, you can't program anything. You can't program all the buttons on here into one of these. So let the back button here, you'll go program what's on this Joy-Con. So you can't program any of the face buttons on here. On the flip side, you can't program L3 or any of the directional buttons to this one. Huge design flaw, but like I said, a lot of third-party Joy-Cons are like that. Not much you can do about it. You know, for what it's worth, it's okay. Though I also haven't used it much since I got to a certain Joy-Con place that I'll get to here in a minute. And I realized I forgot the Joy-Cons and the vanilla, so that'll be squeezed in as well. I have so many controllers, and actually I'm going to forget a few. So yeah, on the tail of the Switch Pad Pro, we have the Switch Pad Compact. I will admit, these also feel okay, but again, you can't use these separately as individual Joy-Cons, so that's a big thing to keep in mind. Another big thing, there's no NFC on this or the Pro, and no rumble. So yeah, I know Rockstar Productions wasn't a fan of these. He thinks they're overpriced, and I kind of agree with him there. Just like for the back buttons, you can only program on this Joy-Con here or this Joy-Con here. Whichever that is, but you know, if you have no other options, then maybe go with these. But I highly suggest, you know, look on Amazon, find all sorts of other options. Which I'll just show those off now. Might as well get these out of the way. Now, these two are from Nixie, and this is the Nixie Hyperion. Now, comfort-wise, they're pretty solid, and unlike the Switch Pad Pro and Compact, you can actually use these as separate Joy-Cons because these have proper shoulder buttons. And when you connect to the Switch, they register as Joy-Cons. Though holding it like this might feel a little awkward, especially when playing like Mario Party or whatever. It feels a little awkward holding that. But not as awkward as the next offering, which we'll get to in a minute. But it feels solid. You know, I mentioned it before. A lot of these third-party companies, they use similar molds, which this same mold was used in the Nexigo Ripcon, which I'm not going to show off here because I wouldn't call it a controller per se. But there's that. But it feels okay, though. I do have a few minor issues with it. For one, it's a little bit wobbly, which I forgot to mention in the Pro Compact. The right Joy-Con was a little wobbly, and I tried it on the regular Switch and the OLED. It's wobbly, and it's kind of true with the Hyperion as well. Not as wobbly, but it's noticeable. It's there. And one major problem I have is that it randomly disconnects. Even when it's directly connected to the Switch, it'll disconnect randomly. I was playing Iron Meat and I think Vampire Survivors with these, and it would randomly disconnect and I had to reconnect it, so that's kind of an issue. But not as big an issue on the Wizard, which is basically the GameCube controller in Joy-Con form. Yes, you can actually use these as Joy-Cons. In fact, you can see the buttons here, lights there, meaning they can be used wirelessly. I can't imagine using these as separate Joy-Cons. Plug them into your Switch. You know, it makes it a lot more ergonomic, though it's going to take me a while to get used to this layout here, because it's been a good minute since I played the GameCube, so this layout's kind of alien to me. But you do have the Hall Effect joysticks, which I forgot to mention the Hyperion has Hall Effect joysticks as well, though there is another version that has regular potentiometers. Naturally, it's going to be cheaper, so if you want to go that route, you can. But yeah, this does have Hall Effect joysticks and swappable thumb caps. You have to buy those separately. And swappable thumbstick gates. You have the 8-directional ones here, emulating the original GameCube, as well as full circle rings. You just turn these little half domes here counterclockwise a little bit. Then you have to pull this out and the joystick. Then slip the thumb gate over it and put it back in. It only goes in one way, so you're no danger of breaking it. But you have mechanical triggers here. I'm not sure about the field membrane, but they're responsive. They work. Yeah, pretty solid controller, but you want to say more solid? Well, my recent additions consider them maybe the best Joy-Cons you can get for the Switch. That's right, the ModePad M6 HDs. I got the black one and the white one. Yeah, easily the best Joy-Cons you can get for the Switch. Mechanical buttons, Hall Effect joysticks. Mine came with extra Skull & Co. thumbstick pads, which is pretty nice. Programmable back buttons, which again, only can find on that Joy-Con, but I don't use it back buttons that much, so it's no big deal to me. But all your mainstays, turbo functionality, but it also has HD Rumble and NFC, which is awesome, because a lot of the regulars don't have that. They feel really solid and well worth the wait and hassle I had to go through to get these. Super psyched to have these again, or finally have them. And to run out the third-party controllers, well, these are pretty big because I technically had room on my little table, but I kind of need the bed for this because they're pretty substantial. I forgot to show off my 8-bit Do arcade sticks, and I actually have two of them. One for the Switch and PC, and one for the Xbox and PC. But yeah, really nice and affordable arcade sticks. If you don't want to get one of those like $200 or $300 arcade sticks, these are pretty nice to have. These are just like, well, this one's under $100. The Xbox one is around $100, maybe a little more. So if you get them on sale, that's awesome. But you have nice arcade-style buttons here. Got the nice joystick. You got the player 1 and player 2 buttons you have to kind of program. I believe these behave as triggers under normal circumstances. But it has so many other features, at least the standard arcade stick. You can switch between the Switch layout or the Xbox layout. And I like how it lights up the different button faces there. And this knob here lets you emulate the left stick, the D-pad, or the right stick. if you so desire, because it depends on what you're playing. You have your connection button, the 8-bit DO heart button, and the star button. Select and start, all that. And the Xbox one, a little bit different. Naturally, it's solely Xbox layout here, same buttons, same stick. But you have a few different, you got the menu buttons here, the share button here, the Xbox button instead of the star button. You also have a switch. The switch, I guess, it emulates controller or joystick, which didn't really know so much of a difference, but up here you have a sound button. You can activate the sound, turn off your microphone, or turn off your headset completely. So that's a feature. But other than that, really nice. If you have like Capcom Arcade Stadium, or one of these other arcade compilations like SNK or anything like that, this is a nice little controller to have. It's a little dusty, that's because I've been keeping it near my window. I do plan on getting a new shelf later to put all my controllers and games and whatnot. And I believe that is everything. I showed off all the Xbox controllers, all the Switch controllers, all the expensive controllers I have. And yeah, that is the entire gamut of my controller collection. Though when it comes to like my main controllers for the platforms, when it comes to PC, pretty for general gaming, I use my Xbox controller, definitely my recent Sky Cypher controller. But if I'm like emulating like PlayStation 2 games, or just want a little change of pace, I go with the DualShock 4, and sometimes the DualSense Edge. But when it comes to PC gaming, these will be my mainstays. Though, that might change because I recently ordered the GameStar Tarantula Pro Controller, and that's going to be its controller to have for PC, so I'm curious how that's going to be. Yeah, as far as PC gaming goes, I'm going to stick with the Xbox controller and the DualShock 4. Sometimes I use my Ultra X as well. When it comes to Switch, yeah, I'll occasionally use the standard Switch controller, but my three mainstays for the Switch, at least as far as controllers go, are the Motherboard Chi2, the Mexico NS32, the Git Zen Pro, and I don't use it as much now, but I still like it as well, the APO Ultimate Bluetooth Controller. All solid controllers. Even the PX ones are solid, but when it comes to main controllers, these are my main controllers for the Switch. And when it comes to portable mode, I had two options. I had the Nexigo Ripcon, and of course, my Moped M6 HDs. And that is my controller collection, comrades. It's quite a few controllers. Not as many as Gamer Heaven, obviously, but quite a few controllers. So I like to have a little variety when it comes to my controllers, especially when I'm gaming on PC. The Switch, nice to have like different controller feels and stuff like that. But yeah, that is my controller collection. That's it for this video, and this is Caleb signing out. Have a good day.
Suck it up, life's tough, we know that. Someone's got better stuff and can throw cash. Tell them I don't give a fuck, make my own path. I don't need no handouts, I'm my own man. Gotta get it, I'll get it and fast, yeah. Got a girl and she'll get it, she bad, yeah. Man, I only get down with the best, I'ma leave the complaints with the rest,